Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for JETRO Chicago's Jconnect Webinar Series. My name is Kevin Cowell, Business Development Specialist with JETRO Chicago. I'll be moderating the webinar today. Our topic is COVID-19 work solutions, and we're bringing you 3 companies from New York, Illinois, and Arizona to share their stories on how they are developing solutions to support the changes in workplace conditions and for making the workplace safer for employees during these unprecedented times. If this is your first time attending a Jconnect webinar, our focus is to help connect innovative North American startups to Japanese affiliated companies here in North America, and most importantly, to facilitate business relationships between the two. Likewise, it aims to improve the productivity of Japanese companies and to help accelerate their open innovation strategies, and helps them to understand industry trends here in the North American market. The topic of COVID-19 work solutions for our 3rd Jconnect webinar is timely and crucial, as the coronavirus pandemic has completely altered our work environment, global economy, and approach to health. With over 4 million cases of coronavirus and 150,000 deaths here in the United States, and over 16 million cases and nearly 700,000 deaths globally, this pandemic has unleashed a public health crisis that is creating devastating impacts on economies around the globe. As governments around the world have mobilized efforts to cushion the immediate effects of the crisis, businesses are scrambling to stay competitive and innovative and to persevere through the difficult recovery period. Companies are being forced to examine how they can safely reopen their factories and offices to ensure a clean and safe work environment for their employees and to comply with government policies on reopening businesses. That is why we are bringing you today's topic, so that you can see and understand some of the innovative solutions being offered during this crisis period. I would like to now share a few housekeeping notes prior to beginning the webinar. First, here's how to operate the control panel for questions. Your microphones are muted to avoid noises. For this reason, questions should be entered in the box labeled question in the control panel. You can also leave a question in the chat. You can vote up questions that you have interest in. All of the questions will be answered during the panel session after the 3 presentations have concluded. Today's talk will be recorded. Both video and handouts will be sent to you after the webinar, in which you will be asked to complete a survey questionnaire. Please note the simultaneous interpretation to Japanese is only available live. You should be able to see a share screen or a box here in the Zoom function for that. In the unlikely event that the webinar system shuts down for any reason, we will reboot the system for you. Please log in again in just a few minutes to rejoin the webinar. I would now like to introduce our first speaker, Lisa Carroll, CEO and co-founder of Proxfinity. Proxfinity offers an easy-to-deploy wearable smart device that, combined with this software as a service backend, informs businesses about the potential level of coronavirus exposure in their workforce, and offers a much more concrete measure of infection-related risk at the enterprise level than testing alone. Further bio and company information could be found for Lisa on the registration page. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you now, Lisa. If you can go ahead and share your screen.
Awesome. Well, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me. Thanks for the time today, everyone, and for tuning in. I'm going to try to share my screen from over here. Can you see my screen? Okay, perfect. Well, awesome. So I know everyone is tuning in, and getting back to work is on everyone's minds. You know, we're all looking at how can we get back to normal, you know, or some semblance of normal as quickly as possible. And so Proxfinity is here to share we've got a solution to help get people back to being in person and helping them do that really in a way that's safe and organized, and give human resource professionals, people in an organization, the data they need to help control the spread of COVID-19 once they start bringing people back. We deployed the Rescue. It's a software platform powered by a wearable device. We deployed this in response to COVID-19, to the coronavirus pandemic. Prior to COVID-19, prior to March 2020, Proxfinity was using our platform in the, we're using our wearable and our software backend in meetings and events to help people in live situations connect with others that were in the same proximity, helping them find other people that had common interests, have the right conversations, and also ultimately track all of the interactions that they were having. And so we also had data that would give each participant the ability to look and see who they interacted with, help companies, event organizers, event hosts really look at what was the impact of their meeting or event, how many interactions were there between the meeting participants. And so as COVID-19 happened, you know, obviously meetings and events were no longer happening. People weren't even going back to work, going into the office. There was no meeting face-to-face. But as people started talking about what it was going to take to get people back, we realized, you know, while we hadn't called it that, we actually had been contact tracing for years. You know, our platform tracks every human-to-human interaction, which is the data that you need if you're going to effectively contact trace. So what the device now does, we did retool the hardware. It is a wearable. It's a digital name tag. It's about 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches, has a digital display. You can add any information to it: employee ID, your company name, last name, company name, whatever information you'd like, we can put on that display. We can also keep it completely anonymous, but this is the device. And when employees are wearing it through their office, when they get within about 6 feet of one another, the badge will illuminate and flash red. And so, you know, number one, we're able to give a social cue so that employees can stay at safe distances from one another. So as you start giving people back, you know, 6 feet is actually really hard. We're not all, you know, built with, you know, a 2 meter ring around ourselves. It's hard to stay 6 feet from other people, and it's hard to understand what is that distance. So we give that visual cue. The devices are also peer-to-peer, so they're tracking every interaction of the other devices within its proximity, so that if there is an outbreak in an organization, in a plant, on a floor, within an organization, the device, an HR administrator can go back and effectively look 2 weeks, see every interaction that affected employee has had, and then make data-informed decisions, you know, as to who to inform, who to quarantine, who to test, et cetera. But now they've got analytics and data powering those decisions, rather than going to that employee and saying, hey, you know, who did you talk to over the past 2 weeks? Who was in your proximity? You might have ridden up in an elevator with somebody and not even realized it. You know, this is a way to immediately and in real time have the data that you need to inform those decisions, so that as outbreaks start to occur in an office, you don't necessarily need to shut down the entire floor. You don't need to close the office for 3 days. You don't need to even notify everybody, but you've got the data to go after the people that do need to be notified. A lot of what, you know, and so I'll stay on this slide for a moment just to share a little bit of insight on the platform. You know, a lot of what made this successful in the meetings and events industry was that our technology does not require continuous connectivity to Wi-Fi or cell service. We're not using any GPS, so we're not tracking where somebody is going. The devices, you know, there's a lot of tech powering them and making sure that we get the analytics that we need, but in terms of like what they're doing, they're tracking the other badges that they're near. So they're not tracking where people are going throughout a facility. They're not tracking where they go when they leave work. They're only tracking and storing information about other badges around them. We can run our technology completely anonymously. So we never have to, as a vendor, hold any personally identifiable information. So we can run this technology without ever acquiring even a first name. There's no email contact, no cell phone, no PII required. And, you know, because we're using peer-to-peer, we're not like installing pre-installed tech through a facility and trying to triangulate interactions. We're not using cameras and having to go back and subjectively try to see who was talking to whom. Because every person in a facility is wearing this device, we're able to generate really accurate data. You know, because every person essentially is a sensor now. It is rechargeable. It's not a disposable battery, so it is green in that way. The device lasts 3 days without a charge and simply charges using a micro USB. So super easy to manage and maintain from an employee perspective. The way that it works is super easy. It is really out of the box technology. We ship the badges, we give access to a web portal. Employees are assigned a device, they hold on to that device, it's theirs for the duration of the contract. When they're near people, it lights up red. When they're close to, you know, within 6 feet, and then the analytics are delivered to event, you know, or human resource professional. So clients can decide who has access to the data. And also, in terms of like what industries this is working in, I think it's interesting to note that, we're working with essential workforce, people that have logistics and, package management facilities. They have warehouses. They're wearing this in there's a clip that, puts it on their belt buckle in a vest pocket. We've got people that are using this in banking and finance in an office setting. Clients that are using this, in a wide variety of use cases, meat packing or, different warehouse jobs. So, it really works for, a variety of different industries. And while the device, was designed as an e-ink display digital name tag, the technology really works anywhere. And, importantly also, I think it is important to note that nobody has to download an app or anything to their phone. So, we do go, there's apps that you can use to some degree to acquire this data and this information, but really in terms of employee privacy, and having them, have to do a big lift or do anything, all you have to do is hand this device out to the individuals, have them wear it when they're on site. They don't have to have a personal device for this to pair to. They don't have to download an app to their phone. So it is completely separate from anything that an employee is using that is personal. And this is the data, so really importantly, 2 different charts. As you start bringing people back to work, you're going to want to know, how well are we doing at staying 6 feet apart? Is this even possible? Maybe we're bringing back 25% of our workforce initially. How well are we doing at staying 6 feet? Are we able to stay 6 feet? And at what point, as we start bringing more and more people back to the office, do we start seeing more red? Are we more at risk for an outbreak that's going to spread through our organization? And then when there is an outbreak, and as cities are continuing to open up and these are becoming more and more frequent, rather than having to every 2 days shut down the office, how can we contain this spread really effectively, really quickly? And so as soon as an employee is diagnosed, an administrator has the data at their fingertips to go, pull that employee's data, go back 2 weeks in time, choose the proximity they want to track, look at the duration of time. I know CDC has now said, within 6 feet and 15 minutes or more, so you can set the toggle to 15 minutes. And then also look at your degrees of separation, so if you want to look at, first degree direct interactions, or if you want to go a step further, you can. This data auto-populates. You can download it to an Excel or CSV and then reconcile that against your records and make the necessary actions, in terms of notifying, quarantining, testing other employees, et cetera. And so, so that's what we're doing to really help get people back to the office, trying to help, do our part. Obviously we didn't plan for this. We didn't see COVID-19 pandemic, taking shape. We had a technology that was tracking human interaction, and we said, hey, now's the time we can do something to help. And so we were in a position where we could actually make a pivot really quickly. We've got devices, we've got a contract manufacturer, we've got the ability to scale and get this out to the masses really quickly. And so we did everything we could in terms of changing the firmware so that it would light up at 6 feet and then delivering this new set of analytics. We're continuously adding on to it to meet demand. Every client's got a different request, and so we're doing our best to accommodate those. But in terms of readiness, we have a solution that's deployed already out in the market and, available to scale really quickly. I don't know if that was 15 minutes, but I've gone through everything.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. That was an excellent presentation. It's good to hear that's right here in Chicago.
Yeah, we're happy to be in the Midwest.
Okay, so well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to save questions to the end. So I'd like to remind all the participants that they can put in their questions on the control panel on the right of your screen. And quickly here, I'm going to do a poll. Let me launch this. So you should see a poll on your screen right now. If you can just quickly do that. And as I'd like to start to introduce our next speaker. She is Mihos Shoji, CEO and co-founder of Moodbit, based in New York. Moodbit is an AI employee success platform that helps organizations increase employee engagement and improve their well-being, and as a result, increase productivity and business outcome. Bio information can be found on the registration page for Shoji-san and the other speakers, like I mentioned before. So thank you for taking part in the poll. And Shoji-san, if you would like to go ahead and pull your screen up, there you are. Welcome, Shoji-san. I'll give it over to you now.
Thank you, Kevin. Very nice to be here. It's my honor to present what we're doing at Moodbit. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen? Yes. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Miho Shoji. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Moodbit. We are a people analytics company focused on employee engagement and also in the well-being of employees. How interesting was hearing Lisa to talk about how technology can track the employees, where they are, and how we can prevent employees to get the virus and have this and try to keep our organization safe and healthy. What we're doing is kind of similar, but thinking on the employee engagement and the well-being and the mental health of employees, because this virus haven't just hit us on the physical health, but also in the mental health. And as Lisa was saying before, we didn't plan for an outbreak and a virus, but what we have been doing for employee engagement having helped us a lot to serve our customers and prospect customers to manage stress and anxiety from the employees. So let me tell you a little bit of what we're doing. Oh. Employee engagement is a big problem. Here in the US, every year, companies are losing more than $600 billion because of employee disengagement. Employee disengagement is leading to different internal additional problems. For example, more errors in the company. They are being more unproductive, and also it is impacting the revenue of the companies. This is something that not just in the times of pandemic or COVID-19, it's hitting the numbers in the companies, but ever since we are analyzing what is employee disengagement and what are the returns of having engaged employees or a workforce that is more engaged. In the past months, they're having a lot of organizational surveys that are analyzing how engagement is very important to be and to maintain this workforce stronger and to continue even in the pandemic moment. So employees and organizations are trying to find more technologies and more tools to help employees and to help organizations to be more engaged, creating a high demand of tools and technologies of this kind. As I said, there are a lot of surveys and a lot of information and analysis on how COVID have impacted our workforce, not just in the health part or in the how can I say? Yeah, in the health or in the health part, but how it impacts in the mental health of our employees. Nowadays, mostly all the companies are working online. More than 70% of the companies are promoting work from home, and not just for this couple of months or 5 months that we have been locked down, but continually for the rest of the year. Also, organizations are concerned on the mental health. I am using the data that JETRO shared to everybody here on their surveys that they are doing for companies that are Japanese companies in the US. And more than 31% of these companies are saying that they are facing a big challenge of mental health, how they can support their employees in this mental health that they haven't ever thought about it. There are some suggestions here in this in the survey. For example, they are doing daily breakfast meeting. Before these kind of actions, they had to pass a process from HR to executives to understand that maybe they will implement sometimes some actions to improve this engagement concept that before was very a concept that was being put in action. For example, frequent messages and expression of appreciation from president and senior management. These kind of things have been very helpful for corporations to make the employees feel that they are cared from the organizations. In the media, I just found, not just today, but for the past 5 months, a lot of information on how mental health organizations are trying to track how this is impacting in the stress levels, and how it will impact in the profitability of the companies. For example, some media is saying importance of workplace mental health metrics now and post-pandemic. So how companies are understanding how their employees are feeling, how the engagement is, and also how the levels of stress that they are having right now, and so other analytics. Let me tell you that companies are using a very traditional, outdated, time-consuming, and very costly tool that is an employee engagement survey. They run this survey just once a year, maybe twice a year. Some companies are using pulse surveys that are run every month, but the result of this have a big problem, and this is a bias from the answers that they are receiving. Employees mostly. A big percentage of employees are answering what they think the boss wants to hear. So with biased answers, the results are not gonna have an impact in the organizations and in the people's life. We think that having a technology that do not need the input from the employees is something that can help to have a real impact and make changes in the organization. And that's why we create Moodbit. We have been working with Moodbit for the past 2 years. We create, based on machine learning and AI, a people analytics technology that it can be implemented in the internal communication platforms from any organization. It doesn't matter which internal communication platform your organization have, but we can get integrated to this platform. We analyze the data, we analyze communication patterns, and we can start understanding in an anonymous and secure way how your organization is. We have different type of analytics, and one of the main differentiation that we have comparing to any other surveys or any other organization that are providing employee engagement survey is that we are not expecting, and we do not need the data from the employees, the input from the employees. We're not asking questions and waiting for the input. We are using active data that have been in the communication platform from forever, and we are using it in an integrated way. So we can track each individual, but we can understand how the whole workforce is doing, and we can score the engagement scores, we can score the behaviors, we can score, and we can also start to find communication partners, who is communicating with whom, how can we find these influencers, employees, and get connected to these isolated employees. Nowadays is more important than ever what we are doing besides the analytics, because we've always thought that our mission is not just providing with analytics to the organizations, but also helping employees directly. And that's why we create action plans that are going directly to employees. And that's what we are doing for COVID-19. And since COVID, we have been an increase of more installations, month over month, more than 30%, because companies are trying to find technologies like we are doing to help their employees to prevent these outbreaks of stress or anxiety. We are helping them with action plans that are sent directly to the employees every week. For example, meditation techniques or breathing techniques, or some videos to cope with anxiety and stress in these moments that everybody's working from home. We also have organizational and network analysis, ONA, that I want to show you here. How does it look in our dashboard? We can find which one is the influencer internally in our organization. This is helping us a lot, not just in terms of how the communication is flowing, but how productivity is going. If I can find an isolated employee, as I can see here, for example, I have 2 notes of isolated employees in the organization, then I can connect with somebody that might have some communication partner that is gonna make the productivity working more faster, more efficiently, so the company will have more revenue and will be more productive. So we are getting together these two concepts of productivity and also the well-being together and the engagement together. The benefits that our users and our clients have been having for the past year is 15% less turnover. We have been helping a lot of companies that have high rates of turnover to low down these rates of turnover. We also have been helping in 35% increase engagement of these corporations. And of course, the employee satisfaction have been increasing too. Lower resignation rates from high performance. And why this is important? Because high performance are the 20% of more productive people in the corporation. Having a high performance, when you have a high performance, you want to keep that person for a long time, for much more than 18 months. That is the average of how employees right now are working in an organization. This is reducing costs for the corporations because you don't have to go again for hunting new employees, doing the whole process of onboarding and teaching them. And after 12 or 18 months, they are leaving your corporations. So retaining these high performance employees and also all the employees, average employees, it's reducing costs of all the companies. Some of our users are Fortune 500 companies as Accenture or Latam Airlines, but we are also helping SMEs in the US and also in Europe. If you want to contact me and if you want to talk more about employee engagement and how we are using AI to help these organizations to be more engaged and also cope with the mental health right now with COVID-19, please contact me. That's my email address. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Shoji-san. Excellent presentation. So I'd like to once again remind everyone to please add questions into the Q&A box, which will be answered after the final presentation. I'd also like to initiate one more poll here. Just give me 1 second to pull this up here. Just a second here. Okay. You should see a poll on your screen now. So please take a look at that and give an answer if you can quickly. Our final presenter is Brian Starbuck, who is a chemist with Decon 7, a company based in Arizona. Decon 7 delivers a powerful disinfectant, cleaner, and deodorizer, making it practical for food production environments, public safety, and military situations. Brian's bioinformation can also be found on the registration page. So if you can go ahead and quickly finish the polling here, that'd be appreciated. And Brian, if you want to go ahead and pull your screen up.
Okay. Am I coming through, Kevin?
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, everybody, for this opportunity to speak to you today about Decon 7, the company, and specifically D7, our product that we use for the disinfection and decontamination of surfaces in a variety of places. I would like to give special thanks to a gentleman at our company, Mark Tucker. Mark is the inventor of this product. He invented D7 while he was on staff at Sandia National Laboratories. And he is now working with us. And I would like to thank him for his assistance in putting this presentation together. Also the other staff at Decon 7 in Scottsdale, Arizona. Decon 7 is slated to relocate to Dallas sometime later this year. And we're very happy to be here today. So thank you very much. A little bit of history. This is the presentation outline. It's very ambitious. There's a lot of content in here. These concepts that I'm going to be speaking about are just not simple. This is chemistry, and there are probably many of you who shine over about chemistry, but this is what we do, and it is definitely part of the story of how we help people treat their facilities to keep them pathologically safe, pathogenically safe, so that people can work in them and the products that they produce from them exit their facility and go to the marketplace in a safe way. I will quickly take you through these listed topics here, and then at the end provide a summary and give you, and then you'll be able to assess the product. On the right-hand side, you'll see a photograph of an electron micrograph, very small electron microscope presentation of something called a biofilm on the surface of polyvinyl chloride, on a polyvinyl chloride surface. It is a before and after picture. This is a picture of the biofilm as deposited on a PVC surface. And this is the picture of the same PVC surface after being treated with D7. The point of this is that we go from the extreme micro levels at nanometer, sub-nanometer size levels to the virus size levels, all the way up to the facility level where we're treating walls and ceilings. So quite literally, we are going from the viral level, the single virus level, all the way up to the treatment of a building. I'll give you a little bit of history of D7. In 1995, there was an unfortunate event in Tokyo. Many of you might be familiar, and you might remember this. And if you remember this unfortunate attack by the Aum Shinriko people in Japan, you remember that this was a horrible event. And when you think about how this happened, the parallels between what happened in Tokyo on that day and what is happening now with respect to the propagation and movement of people from the center of an event, from the point at which the event happened to places outside where they unfortunately affected other people outside. The concepts of propagation of toxin and the propagation of coronavirus, they're the same. We've been preparing for things like this since we started this company. This is foremost in our minds because this is how we attempt to stop it where it starts. And one of the events that happened, one of the things that happened in this unfortunate event is that people on the subway were contaminated with sarin. And in the panic and in the just general movement of people, it was found that people who carried sarin with them walked out of the proximity of the event, and it dispersed the cloud or the area of inoculation throughout the entire city, right up to the hospitals. And when that happens, that's just carrying the toxin everywhere. When this happened, this put a fire underneath regulators and government entities to address the needs that were necessary in order to try to manage a situation like this. And so there were many different development activities that were followed, and to try to address the problems that came from this event. And where we fit in is D7 was developed as to address the ability to treat surfaces. And in this particular case, at this point in time, I am only going to be talking about surfaces, inanimate surfaces. I'm not talking about human beings. I'm not talking about skin. I can talk about clothing, but this is not something that is to put on anybody's person, on any of their intimate surfaces, on any of their skin surfaces. There we go. At the time when this happened, the chemical decontaminants that were available to people for treating situations like this were very, very difficult to use. This is an example on the left-hand side. There's a substance of a formulation called DS2, high test hypochlorite, super tropical bleach. If these things are used on any surface, it'll definitely kill the virus. It'll kill everything. However, it's extremely harsh, and it's burning down the village to save it, really. And it's very difficult to use. You can see on the lower picture here, a person in full mop gear pouring high test hypochlorite into a bucket to mix it up and to activate it. And then you have to deploy it. It's very cumbersome, very difficult. And this was something that was viewed as a whole in the treatment opportunities, or what the response opportunities were going to be if an event like this happened. The United States Department of Energy Research and Development Laboratory at Sandia National Laboratories in Albuquerque, New Mexico, was tasked with coming up with a response to this, trying to develop a easy-to-use decontaminant that was safe, that was made of materials that were not exotic, that was relatively, that would help treat surfaces without destroying them, that was water-based. There was a logistics consideration because this was being used for military applications in theater of operations. Getting something to the front lines is a very big concern. So in effect, what happened was D7 was invented, and the design criteria for the development of D7 was initially to treat surfaces as a decontaminant. So at the time, they weren't really particularly interested in biological pathogens and trying to kill things on the surface, even though the Aum Shinrikyo people actually did deploy anthrax. And this was a biological attack, if you will. And there were other biological attacks later on, certainly after 9/11 here in the United States, using anthrax as the weapon. D7 was deployed in those particular circumstances to positive effect. So, and in this particular slide that you see right here, there were two different laboratories that were testing different anthrax spores or different spores, and they were using different agents, high test hypochlorite, supertropical bleach, and DF200, which is a similar idea as D7. It's the same thing. It's a different name that was given at Sandia, and it worked. This was performed on what's called a CARC panel, a chemically active for decontamination. It's a special coating that they put on vehicles to allow them to be treated so that you can decontaminate them. If you've got a big Humvee in the field and it gets soaked with chemical weapons in the event of an unfortunate attack, you have to have a way to treat it, and you don't want things soaking into anything. So a CARC is a coating that is put on. The spores were inoculated onto the CARC. D7 was applied. Sure enough, killed them all. So that was kind of the origin of how D7 was developed. And one particular little note here, a side note. At this time, currently, D7 is not registered with the United States Environmental Protection Agency as a sporicide. I'm going to talk a little bit about the regulatory environment in a little bit. But needless to say, I have to be very careful about those things, because certainly the Environmental Protection Agency takes language and claims very seriously. We spend a huge amount of our resource dealing with the regulatory language and the regulatory presentations that we can make to the public and to the marketplace. And we have to be very careful about what we say, because people's lives are on the line. So we have to be very careful about what we say. So right now, D7 is not registered with the EPA as a sporicide. The D7 itself is a 3-part product, part 1, part 2, part 3. These are kept apart before mixing. They are all water-based. If you do happen to come into contact with any of these things on your person, It's not going to hurt you. It's considered a non-toxic substance. You can't really use the term non-toxic when you market the product because we are registered under FIFRA, the Fungicide, Insecticide, Rodenticide Act. We kill bacteria, we kill viruses, we kill mold. So therefore, toxicity it is not an option. It is toxic to them, that's for sure. However, to a human being, we are not toxic. So in the chemistry parts that we have there are three parts. The first part is a quaternary ammonium compound with various co-solvents. It's a highly formulated material. And if anybody's interested in that, we can go sit down and I'll give you 2 hours and we'll talk about the science of that, because it's all very interesting and it's one of the ways that I have a job. And I know a lot about it and I can certainly help work your way through those ideas. Part two, and this is an alkaline pH of 10.6. So it's an alkaline-based material. Part two, oops, pardon me. Pardon me again. Part two is a dilute hydrogen peroxide aqueous solution. It is a 5.9% hydrogen peroxide solution. And that 5.9% is specifically for Japan because the regulators in Japan do not allow hydrogen peroxide concentrations greater than 6%. In the United States, we are limited to a hydrogen peroxide concentration of less than 8%. So we have to dilute down the hydrogen peroxide component of our formula down to 5.9% in order to adhere to the regulatory requirements of Japan. This doesn't really affect our efficacy all that much, but it is a reality that we have to deal with. We operate in a highly regulated environment, and we are working with our friends at the EPA and our friends with the other regulatory structures around the world on almost a daily basis. We talk with them very often. So hydrogen peroxide is the component of part two. And then part three is what we call an accelerator or a booster. And the particular substance that is embodied in part three is called diacetyl. Diacetyl reacts with hydrogen peroxide to produce peracetic acid in solution after you blend all three of these parts together. Once you blend each of these parts together in the 49%, 49%, 2% prescripted ratio, it is mixed together to make sure it's homogeneous. Everything's water soluble. It's mixed together and homogeneous, and the product is then applied onto any surface that you want. You can put as much as you want on. What you really need, though, is intimate physical contact with the target organism. And you can bend your mind thinking about what that means. But I'll speak to that in just a moment here. So the product is blended at point of use. On the left, you see somebody who is applying this product. In this particular case, that's a protein producing facility, and it's being applied as a foam. So inside of a large container that is feeding this nozzle, it's being applied on every surface that you see. And I've got a little video later. It can be applied as an aerosol, as a liquid, or as a foam. And the picture on the bottom that you see there, that's a ceiling. We've applied this product onto the ceiling, and the foam sits there and hangs there, and to affect the contact time and to decontaminate the ceiling. Again, as I mentioned earlier, one of the issues with prior decontaminants was their extreme harshness relative to when they contact surfaces. It's very harsh. So you can see on the left, there's a test coupon that has been exposed to water for 24 hours. In the middle is a D7 exposed coupon for 24 hours. And on the right is a 10% bleach exposed for 24 hours. You can see some corrosion on here. Corrosion is something that nobody can get away from corrosion. However, you can minimize it and still get the same efficacy and minimize the corrosion. Certainly D7 fills that particular bill. At the time when Sandia had this is a patented material, a patented product. Sandia owned the patents. They licensed this technology to Decon 7. And when it was originally invented to treat chemical weapons, sarin, mustard gas, VX, you name it. This is one of the other things that I do in some of the other things that I participate in. But that was the original intention, was to decontaminate chemical weapons off of active surfaces. Since that time, there have been other applications and other efficacies that have been developed. And it has been expanded to include viruses, bacteria. It has been, it eliminates bacteria that are encased in biofilms. We have done the efficacy studies that evaluate whether or not our product is effective on African swine flu, on avian flu, the coronavirus. We are working on that right now. We are on list N, which is an EPA list that designates what can be used for coronavirus treatments on surfaces. We are on that list, and it's an emerging pathogen designation. We treat molds, we treat fungus, we treat yeast. All of this data is available, and it will numb your mind to really go through all of these things. And if there's something in particular that you're interested in, we can definitely help you out. Again, these are some of the things that we've tested. Testing is at the very, very core of what we do. We have to prove certainly to the Environmental Protection Agency, and more importantly to our customers, we have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt with certified third-party good laboratory practice evaluations that our product does exactly what we say it does on non-porous surfaces. So in this case, we have a number of different organisms, a number of different pathogens that have been tested. And we've done studies on crazy things, all the way down to evaluating whether or not our product will kill bugs. And sure enough, it does. The exoskeleton of a bug is very sensitive to the oxidation potential of our product. And you can, it does kill bugs. We don't make that claim because, again, that's an insecticidal claim. The EPA will come knocking on your door and throw handcuffs on the chief executive officer, and then I'm out of a job. So we can't make that claim. However, we've done studies and they've shown it, but they haven't been done in accordance with the criteria and protocols necessary to submit that data and make label claim onto our label. One of the places where our product has found the most wide use are in these live animal, and large scale processing facilities. These businesses are massive, and they treat and deal with tons of animal flesh, animal parts, animal pieces on a daily basis through their facilities. It's amazing. It's one of those things that I have had the good fortune to really be involved with. And when you see the work that gets done to bring meat from the field to the table and doing it in the safe, efficacious way that they do it, it is nothing short of a miracle. The food processing facilities are truly driven by the food safety quality officers in their facilities. These facilities are literally huge petri dishes. There is no way you're ever going to avoid contagion or bacteria or the development of a bacterial outbreak inside of a facility. It simply can't happen. And there's nothing you can do about it except be vigilant and have a good plan in place We're part of that plan on a number of different places, and we integrate ourselves into some of the largest production facilities in the country. Places like up in Greeley. I'm in Colorado right now. There's a place up in Greeley, the JBS facility. It's a meat packing facility, beef processing facility. They process 2,500 cattle a day, and when you do the math on that, that's $1 million a day. And every once in a while, they have to shut their plant down. We go in and we treat the facility from top to bottom, and we literally disinfect every single surface that's in their facility. We have our friends at the EPA require us to have a label. We have a processing label. These are some of the claims that we can make. When you use the term disinfection, that means killing everything. When you use the term viricide, that means eliminating all viruses. When you use the term fungicide, that means you're killing all fungus and mildew. When you use the term disinfectant against biofilms, that's a special test that is evaluating bacteria that are encased in a biofilm. The 10-minute contact time is an incidental time. It's done simply for registration purposes. We really don't know how fast our product works. Intimate physical contact, we know this, that when our product comes into intimate physical contact with a bacteria, a virus, or a fungus, or a biofilm, it is killed immediately. It doesn't take 10 minutes, it kills it right now. The 10-minute time is really something associated with the laboratory testing that is required for for our label claim, for our legal document.
Brian, could I get you to speed up just a little bit here? We're getting short.
Almost done. Almost done. I'm getting to the really boring slides now. This is D7 efficacy testing. Everything is done. It's all killed. This is a particular example of E. coli. Similarly, a Staphylococcus all killed. This particular study, to speed this up, this is a very detailed study. I would have to really talk to someone one-on-one about that. It has to do with porcine endemic diarrhea. This is an example again of our product being able to wipe a surface clean of a biofilm encased E. coli. We also do 20%, 1 to 5 dilution works. Again, more data. We have data coming out of our ears, and I'm happy to speak to that with you all. Bear with me. One last thing. This is us applying our product, and I hope this video shares well. This is what it looks like when we're putting our product inside of a meatpacking facility. This is applying a foam on a very large scale. That's what's called a hot box inside of a slaughterhouse.
Including our countertops, door handles, and common areas. On Monday apparatus service days, firefighters use Decon 7 disinfectant spray to decontaminate the fire engines, including the inside cab, EMS gear, and EMS cabinets. It's up to all of us to do our part and follow all recommendations from the CDC.
Fog complete area in a swift and thorough manner. Do not aim fog directly at sensitive electronics, glass, smoke, or fire.
Okay, very good. I think you get the idea. This is what we do. We decontaminate surfaces. Our product will work on coronavirus. It works on all viruses, enveloped and non-enveloped viruses. If you have a question about disinfection, we're happy to help you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Brian, for your presentation, excellent video, and to all the speakers for excellent presentations. I'd like to share a final poll here before we move to the Q&A session. So let me move to that third poll here. And as I give you a chance to look over the poll here, I'd like to share with you that we will have our next Jconnect webinar on Tuesday, August 11th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, 11 a.m. Pacific time on the theme of Smart Cities Mobility. The webinar will feature speakers from ParkNav, based here in Chicago, Adapt, based in Silicon Valley, and Spare Labs, based in Vancouver, Canada. Registration information will be sent out to you after this webinar concludes in an email, so we hope you can join that. So thank you for answering today's polls during the webinar, and I'd like to move towards the question and answer session now. So I think if our speakers here, if you can maybe unmute yourself here. I don't have the right thing here. So thank you again for your presentations. Let me get to some of the questions here and the Q&A thing. If each of you could kind of share some basic information on product pricing for your products, that'd be appreciated. You don't have to, I know it's probably kind of vague, but why don't we start with you, Lisa?
Yeah, hey, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, sorry, are you guys there?
Yes.
Uh-oh. Okay. So we have two ways of pricing the product, or two components to our pricing. There's a capital fee to our, sorry, I don't know why my video went out. I'm sorry about that. But we've got a capital fee. We charge for the device. Each device ranges between $100 and $150, depending on how a client is paying for it, whether upfront or over time. And then we also have a service fee, depending on how many devices per device per month, depending on how many users a client has activated. So, and that's to power the software, run the analytics, and have access to the data.
And is that subscription based? Just real quick.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it is subscription. So you've got we have a 6-month minimum contract. After that, it's month to month, but most of our clients say, we see this as at least 6 months, right? This could even be something that we're using, from now on and becomes a standard. But yeah, so that is a subscription to access the service. But you purchase the wearable once to power that data.
Okay. And Shoji-san, can you share any pricing and subscription information?
Sure. We are also a subscription-based technology. We have two types of plans. One is a premium, and the other one is a basic one. The basic costs $8 per employee per month. And the premium one is $12 per employee per month, and they can get access to all the data and the action plans.
And Brian, can you share some information?
And my apologies, I unfortunately cannot. That is the realm of our sales friends, and they're happy to do that. And if I open my mouth about money, they kick my butt. So they pay me. So but we are definitely available to do that. I mean, some of it is dependent upon the size of the facility that you're talking about. Some of it is dependent on whether or not you need to have a foam applied, a fog applied, how much product you need. There's volume pricing on everything. So we're happy to help.
Okay. And Brian, we had a question about D7. Is this, how does this compare to like bleach, Clorox 360, things like that? So
in terms of?
Is safety.
Oh, safety?
Maybe perhaps safety, to human skin or something like that, or.
Sure. Yeah, and human skin is definitely that's the gold standard. If you get this product onto your skin, you'll know it, and it does provoke you. If you're in a room and you're fogging and you take a breath, you cannot stay in that room for very long. It is a potent chemical. However, it is not toxic. It doesn't have any residual effect. Bleach will get onto your skin and hurt your skin. In a similar way, our product will also, I guess the best word that I can use is provoke you. But is it safe? Yes, it's safe. And it's all water soluble. Everything rinses off. It's probably, it has the same toxicity potential as something like bleach.
Okay, thank you. And if I could have our attendees, if you guys still have questions, feel free to please put more in. Just a general question for the audience here, with the pandemic, how do you see things going here in the next few months for you guys in your own business? And if we can start maybe with Lisa, is there a silver lining in this pandemic for you? Obviously, you're taking advantage of with your technology, but if you could talk about where you see things going here and then in the current state.
Yeah, happy to. So, I mean, I think, ultimately we want to get back to what our core, what our value prop is, what our mission is, which is helping people have the best in-person interactions as humanly possible. In the short term, until we have a vaccine, until we can all get back to, getting close to one another, having live meetings and events en masse, we're happy that we have a solution that we can use to help people connect as safely, so we can get back to a little bit of what we were doing before. Maybe not the crowded events, but ultimately, in the near term, let's get back to work. Let's get back to collaborating. These Zoom opportunities are amazing. We can access, a wide range of people, but it doesn't replace being in person. And so I think, we're happy that we have something we can do now, but we also are, our mission is to get people back to having great conversations and meeting in person.
Shoji-san, do you have a comment?
For us, I think the pandemic just helped us to where we were expecting, because we always wanted, and our mission is to have all the organizations to have this mindset of the people first. And right now, everybody's working from home. HR have more of this mindset. So I think what we have been working for the past year with action plans that are helping directly to the employees, it is something that was just waiting the correct moment to be used in a massive way.
Brian?
This is really brought to fore the idea. People are now being introduced with this idea of an N95 mask. And what does that mean? When you start talking about particles, when you start talking about 6 feet distancing, why do we stand 6 feet from one another? It's because that's the trajectory of a particle of aerosol that's coming out of your mouth. And this is the awareness that people are the level of awareness has increased dramatically about touching surfaces. What do I need to do in order to make a surface safe to touch? What does that mean? And our product is capable of taking care of anything on a surface, but the awareness of that now is really something that is coming to the fore, and people are thinking about it a lot. And frankly, our product is doing extremely well in the marketplace because people are concerned about these things, and we do solve a problem. And now you really have to think about it a lot more, because before nobody thought about how dirty their cell phone was. Now they are. And there it is the awareness of all these things is something that I just see that getting bigger. And I only see that the ability to use products like this to help make a workplace safe is going to increase.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's washing their hands now thanks to this pandemic. It's good. Yeah. So, if I could ask a general question here, like maybe your strategies internationally. Obviously, it's kind of difficult to travel anywhere outside of the country right now, but I'm sure you're probably getting some interest from business, in different countries, Japan, Europe, wherever. So maybe what would your strategy, or what's your thinking, for international markets? Like, are you going to enter as looking for a partner, or obviously it's not easy to just go put boots on the ground in a time like this, but maybe short term and long term, if you have any ideas. And I guess we'll just start again with Lisa.
Yeah, I guess a silver lining for us is, we were in the event business, and we typically had sent boots on the ground to every event to help activate the technology, hand out these devices, make sure everyone knows how they work, run registration for our clients. Obviously, you can't do that in a pandemic. So this has forced us to do everything remote. And what we found is that our technology can scale remotely. So we're happily, not traveling to all of these activations. We can onboard people over the phone. We're putting together a video series so that they can, access and run this completely anonymously or autonomously. And really, shipping to California, shipping to New York, shipping to Asia, shipping to Australia, the technology works anywhere. And so, so ultimately we can take clients anywhere in the world.
Yeah, for us, have been very interesting the whole pandemic, as we saw that the borders have been deleted or erased. Right now, we are having customers from Europe, from India, from South America. We are not putting a lot of marketing efforts for those geographic zones, but they are coming and they are going to our website and they are installing our service without the need to do a lot of marketing. So I think our technology can be scaled very fast in any other geography, because we can use different languages. We can understand in different languages all the communication that it is in the active data with the AI that we are using. But yes, I think it doesn't matter the country where we are selling, they are coming to use our technology.
And Brian, I'm sure you're probably getting some interest overseas as well.
Well, we have, and our overseas platform is, we have a couple of ways that we deal with this. We do try to use local formulators, people who are capable of blending our product in country, as opposed to putting a 250-gallon tote on a ship and sailing it across the sea. That just doesn't make sense. So we have engaged a number of different places. Hydrogen peroxide, that's one of the things about the formula that is very interesting. There aren't any exotic materials in here. There's nothing that you cannot get globally. The chemical infrastructure that's around the world is highly integrated, and the formulation that we have, a proprietary formulation, but a formulation nonetheless, it is not anything exotic. And so we can get a hold of everything that we need in order to do something in country if we have to. Right now we're at the continent level, where we have formulators in Europe, we have formulators in Asia, we have a formulator in Australia. We do not yet have a formulator in South America, and no formulator in South America and no formulator in Africa. But we are capable of putting our products anywhere in the world.
And Brian, another quick question. Have you applied your material towards medical equipment or maybe in the hospital industry?
That's an interesting question, and the reason why there's sensitive equipment that sometimes you can use these materials or products on sensitive equipment, sometimes you can't. There are specific designations for sensitive equipment decontamination. We have put our product onto surfaces that are coming into contact with the human body, whether it's an endoscope or whether it is something that will touch the human skin, and we can decontaminate that. But decontaminating equipment is a whole nother thing. So, yeah. Okay,
understood. Yeah. So, I think there's a lot of silver linings coming in this pandemic, maybe with things that are going to be changing in our work environments. Like, obviously working from home is one thing. I wanted to ask Lisa and Miho, as women on the panel here, how do you think this is going to affect in the long term, or even short term, whatever, with women in the workforce? Is it going to help to increase this or change this at all? What's your perspective? And I think that's something that Japan can look at.
Yeah,
Lisa?
I can answer first. You're totally switching gears here, but I think, you just from a human perspective, and I'm a mom, I'm a full-time CEO, we're making a pivot, we've never worked harder. And here we are working, never harder from our homes in front of our children. And, I had a conversation with my 10-year-old recently, and she was like, "You're ignoring me all day." And it said, I'm not necessarily meaning to ignore you. You wouldn't see this if you were in school or in camp, but this is what I do, and that's what mom does all day. And I think that for women, I wish I could say that I thought that there was going to be something really positive that came out of it. If I think about that, it's that my daughter can see what a day in the life, of mom really looks like, how hard I'm working during the day while she's at school, how many hats I have to wear as a mom, and as a professional. But I think that, a lot of, thinking about minorities, thinking about women, thinking about the burden that gets put on us in general in terms of like caring for the kids and now being home full time. I think that we need to get back to work as soon as possible so that, we are back in the game and it's a more level field. I think that this is really hard on women and on minorities. I think that, it's unfairly stacked.
I'm in the same position as Lisa. I'm a mom. I'm a full-time CEO. We're working from home all day. Our kids are realizing that what we do, I think. They never thought that we work, or I think they never thought what we do while they're at school. What is beautiful, because they now can understand that we are doing something that maybe have an impact in the world. And we are changing our role as just moms to be a bigger role for them in the future. But in a more wide perspective, I was just reading how the mental health is being very negative impact for women more than men right now for COVID, because we have an unbalanced and unfair relationship, mostly all the families, that the heavy weight of the family, all the tasks that we have to do is more in women. And this is because of culture and so many other things. But we are having a lot of mental health issues in the women population because of that. We are 24 hours in our house. We are trying to be moms and professionals and so on, that it is going to have an impact. I think a negative impact in some way, and of course a lot of positive impact because we are more close to our families. But yeah, I think that's my answer.
Thank you so much. Good answers. I saw the news today. The economy dropped about 9.5% in the second quarter of this year, which is obviously very large. But from a positive sense, when do you think we're going to see a nice rebound? I know this is a very broad economic question, and you can all answer this as best you can here. But when do you think things are going to somewhat come back to normal, and maybe kind of short term, medium term, and then how you guys can help with that too, of course. So. Lisa?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with confidence. When can we, trust that going back to work, our best interests are cared for? I think this has to do with, office workers. I think it has to do with manufacturers. I think it has to do with teachers. There's so many unknowns right now. And so I think that when we can say to people like, hey, we're going back and here's what we're doing to keep you safe. That has to do with what Proxfinity is doing. That has to do with what Brian's doing. It has to do with like what we're all doing and more, right? This is, how we're going to protect you. This is how we're going to make sure that you're safe. I think then people will have confidence to start going back. And only once they have confidence can we start seeing an uptick in the economy or, in mental health. I think, once we can kind of come up with a baseline for what that looks like and all get behind it and stop doubting things, I think we're going to see a lot of positivity come out of that and a big uptick.
I think that the question is very difficult to know when we are going to come back. I think nobody knows, but I'm very sure that it's going to be now before and after history of our world. I don't think that we're going to go back to what we had before in any case. That's why having technologies or solutions like we have exposure today is not just for now, and I don't think it's just for the pandemic, but it's a constant thing that we can use and organizations can keep using. So yeah, I think it's going to be a post-pandemic world, even we go back to the offices.
Yeah, I agree with you very much. I think normal's over. There is no more normal. And this is just going to go forward as when you really think about what's being put into the mind of every single human being, that every single human being is an existential threat to every other human being because of the coronavirus. I just think that normal's over. And there will be a change about how people do their jobs, how companies do their work, whether or not they actually bring people into the office place. I know this, in a slaughterhouse, you cannot do it without human beings. It simply can't be done. Human beings have to use their hands, and they have to manipulate the piece and then put it to market. It doesn't cut itself. And if you know this, slaughterhouses have been some of the hardest hit areas, and who knows why, but I think part of it has to do with the temperature. Part of it has to do with just the way things work. I think normal's over, and I think there's going to be a lot of new thinking going into everything that is going to just change the way everything happens.
I agree. I'm looking forward to being back to a normal, somewhat normal work environment. I enjoy working at home, but it's nice to come downtown and to be in the city. So I don't think we have too many more questions here. So I think we can go ahead and start wrapping things up. So maybe this would be a good opportunity if you want to like give a quick, a quick 1 minute, whatever kind of final comments you'd like to give, and we'll wrap things up. So we'll go ahead and go with Lisa. So.
Yeah, well, thanks so much everyone for tuning in. Thanks for having us. It was awesome getting to know Brian and Miho, also, hearing about what you guys are doing. I guess in summary, what I can say is we're working with a lot of clients. Obviously, this is an investment. This is, we work with a lot of departments when they're making a decision on how they're bringing people back to work. That involves IT, it involves HR, it involves operations, finance. How you engage with your workforce and how they engage with one another has huge implications for how your business is run and productivity. So we do pilot events. We've got 5-10 devices that we can work with, get into your hands, get you piloting, get you up on our platform, see the SaaS, see the hardware. We'd love to do that with you and do something, for a minimal investment so that you can see how it works before you go for your full facility, for your full workforce. You can easily reach us at info@proxfinity.com, and we'd be happy to have a conversation one-on-one with you.
Yeah, I would like to say thank you to JETRO. It has been very, very a great partnership for us to have. We have been having a lot of contact from Japan. Companies there need the technology similar to what we're doing, because they are having a very low level of engagement from the employees. So for us, it's a great opportunity to expose our technology and what we're doing, and the solution and the mindset and the mission of what we're doing. And personally, I'm very happy to contact and talk with a lot of people from Japan. I need a little bit more of practice in my Japanese. もう少し練習したい. My Japanese is not that good, but I try to talk with my father in Japanese as much as possible. So if anybody wants to contact us, you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is written here, Miho Shoji, or send me an email, info@mymoodbit.com, to know more about Moodbit, or just to practice and help me with my Japanese. Thank you.
And thank you, Lisa and Miho, and really appreciate being on the panel with you. It was very nice. I appreciate it very much. And Kevin, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with people about this product. If I could leave anybody with one thing, the problem isn't viruses. The problem isn't bacteria. The problem is biofilms. And the more you look into this, and the more you understand what this means, it's biofilms. Bacteria don't walk around. They live in biofilms. And to kind of amplify from a question that you had, Kevin, about bleach, or a question that was offered, bleach does not destroy biofilms. Our product destroys biofilms. This is some of the thinking that's expanding now into the new way things are, and the understandings that are coming forward. This is going to be hitting people, and they're going to go, what is a biofilm? We prepared. This is the threat, and this is what we do. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Much appreciated. My contact information is on my presentation. So thank you.
Lisa, Miho, Brian, thank you so much for participating today. Excellent presentations. I'd like to remind our participants, if you have any further questions, please reach out to us at JETRO. We'll try to put you in touch with any of the speakers if you need information, or if you have any questions, please reach out to us. You'll be receiving an email shortly with a survey, a questionnaire to fill out on this program. And also, I'd like to remind you that you'll probably be receiving registration information for our next Smart Cities Mobility Jconnect webinar, August 11th. So thank you once again to everyone, and thank you for attending, and we look forward to seeing you next time.